After the Public Utilities Commission approved it in December of 2013 and used that proceeding to first announce the idea of a power supply improvement plan, which was imposed on HELCO, and then in April of 2014 imposed on all the utilities. That deal, which the PUC approved, fell apart for a variety of reasons. And now HELCO and Honua have worked out a new deal and are submitting it to the PUC for review. The two major differences are, first, the price of energy has really dropped since the approval of Honua in 2013. As example, the KIUC battery and solar plant, which is offering power much cheaper than the original Honua price and even this current Honua price. It will require a rate increase. According to the analysis submitted by HELCO, customer rates will go up for the first 20 years of the 30-year contract. And then they'll slightly go down, but overall, this is a higher cost than the existing average rate charged by the utility. This project has a benefit cost ratio of 0.9, which means for every dollar HELCO ratepayers give to Honua, they'll get 90 cents of electricity back. It's a losing proposition for ratepayers. However, the legislature said that if you're promoting agriculture also, it's up to the PUC to determine what an appropriate agricultural preference rate is. You could argue that that planting trees and chopping down trees is an agricultural issue. But if they're just chopping down trees, if they're not planting trees and chopping them down, but they're simply removing trees from the existing forest, that would be less agricultural to me. On Maui, there was a whole argument over whether Energia wanted to supply agricultural-based energy to the utility, and whether they should get a preferential rate or not. And that failed. Energia did not succeed in moving forward, but the Public Utilities Commission told the utility, in the future, if somebody comes to you and says, we want an agricultural preference rate, bring it to the commission rather than trying to figure out for yourself what it means. So in this case, Honua wants a preferential rate, and so the HELCO has submitted it to the PUC for review. It's unclear at this point how supportive of the project HELCO is, because they normally bring a project to the PUC after they've agreed to it, and in this case, they're bringing it to the PUC because that's the way the PUC wants it. Honua was filed a lawsuit against HELCO. Then, as a result of negotiations within the lawsuit, they agreed to file this joint docket. So the lawsuit is on hold, from my understanding, I think pending the outcome of this proceeding. It's not clear whether the lawsuit would continue if this whole thing falls apart, but that's my understanding currently. The Public Utilities Commission, in both this proceeding and in the 3 solar contracts for Oahu, reminded HECO and HELCO that when a power purchase agreement dies and they come back with a revised one, they do not do that in the old docket. They must open a new docket. And so the commission, for the 3 solar ones, consolidated them into one docket and opened a new one, and for Honua, opened this new docket. HELCO made it clear that it's up to Honua to prove why they deserve an agricultural credit, uh, why they deserve an agricultural preferential rate, and why this rate makes sense to pay them in the first place. So HELCO really wants to dump a lot of the fact-finding onto Honua. And it seems, from my understanding of it, they want eucalyptus trees, and then they're going to plant leucaena. And my understanding is leucaena is an invasive. And they're going to be taking these trees from the Pahala area and transporting them 70 miles to their power plant. The traffic study they did is only on what the impacts are right at Sugar Mill Road and the highway. It is not where they're chopping down the trees and bringing them out onto the highway in Pahala. We're not clear if the public comments are legal or not. When the plant manager files an email with the commission, the plant manager representing the utility is a party must file notice to all the other parties and participants of a filing. So if Honua writes an email to the PUC, they have to send it to everyone else. Now, you might argue that the general manager of Honua is not Honua, but that would be a real stretch of the imagination. But it appears that Honua has launched an email campaign to try to lobby the commission without notifying the other participants. So I think that is an ethical error on their part. But more important than that, their filings with the commission have basically said, hey, the legislature is not moving on this 2045 goal, and hey, commission, you are talking but not doing, so why don't you just get your act together and move forward? And that kind of attempt to pressure the decision maker is not something that will win them any favors in the end. Unless you intervene, unless you're a participant or a party, I don't think sending emails have that much weight unless it's a huge outcrying. Like, for example, in the Mercer case, you had a lot of people in the public having positions. But if only a handful of people submit comments and they're not actual players in the proceeding, then I don't think they carry much weight.